Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game news. It is August 13th, 2021, and these are the top stories of the day. To kick things off, Pokemon just announced this morning, attention trainers, tune in to our YouTube channel on Wednesday, August 18th, 2021 at 6 a.m. Pacific time for a Pokemon Presents video presentation featuring Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Pokemon Shining Pearl, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. This is fantastic. We just had a really successful, super cool Nintendo Indie World presentation, and that delivered. No complaints, plenty of nice surprises, some first looks, some shadow drops, some things to look forward to in 2022 and 2021, some updates to some games we already knew about, like it had everything, a very solid presentation. And then now, another thing. Nintendo Switch has a really big 2021 going for it. It has a nice 2022. And one of the final games, or pair of games, to end out this year is Diamond and Pearl's remakes. We saw them several months ago. That build was from a build that was made a few months earlier. So this August 18th, which is just in 5 more days, we're going to see a much updated look at Diamond and Pearl. Now, we saw a little glimpse of them in the Nintendo Switch OLED model presentation where we could see, that was a definite different visual segment than we got in the initial debut, of Diamond and Pearl. They looked better. And, the games were not at E3, so I think Nintendo decided, Pokemon Company decided, instead of having a presents video right before E3 or at E3, which would be of like a May build, let's wait until a little bit later when we're further along in development and it's, that much better of a difference, that's that much more improved of a difference from when it was first shown off till now. So I imagine that this August 18th build will probably be something that's up to early July in terms of where they are at in development, because then they had to, string together the video itself, prepare a little package, and have a visual tour, a little demo for us on August 18th. So the game right now will probably look significantly better from earlier this year, maybe a little bit better from the Nintendo Switch OLED model presentation or close to it. And then, from here on out, the game's coming out in just a few more months, November, so maybe it'll get one little last graphical touch, bells and whistles, so to speak, added to it. So I'm pretty pumped. And then we've got Legends Arceus, or Arceus, and that's an early 2022 title, kicking off next year with a bang, honestly. An open world Pokemon game. Some people loved the way it looked, others thought it definitely needs some more polish, and I didn't doubt that it would get more polish, but its initial debut I thought was very promising. I saw an open world, I saw good draw distance, nice polygon models, texture's pretty good. It already looked like a solid start, and another year of development time after then. If that went into honing things, getting the frame rate right, finding a resolution that works consistently, unless if you go variable, that depends, a few different factors go into that. But regardless, I was hyped. I can't wait to see what this one looks like now. Because Diamond and Pearl, I could imagine, alright, kind of like during that OLED model presentation, maybe a little bit better. Now we will obviously get to see much longer presentation. This is scheduled to be around 28 minutes, so depending on how they split the presentation up between Diamond and Pearl and Arceus, we could get a lot of footage out of both. But Arceus, we haven't seen that one at all since its debut. Not at E3, not in some other little video package, like in the OLED presentation. So that one is really exciting. And we're just getting hit after hit from Nintendo. It really makes me wonder, late August, or more likely early September, are we going to get that Nintendo Direct? A partner showcase? A mini Nintendo Direct? What? And then, after that, we've got holidays coming along. We've got the OLED model, Metroid Dread coming out. Video Game Awards, I would say likely at those awards. We'll get something from Nintendo. Could this be Bayonetta 3's time to finally shine? Can't get too hyped, speculation mode activated. But for now, Pokemon Presents, I'm hyped for it. Stay tuned. Come here. I'll be watching this with you next Wednesday, the 18th, at 6 a.m. West Coast Pacific Time. That'll be 9 a.m. on the East Coast. If you're somewhere else in North America, just check your local listings for time zone and try to watch it live. Whether it's with me or on your own, we will talk about it later, hopefully. Okay, enough on that. Next up, big talk right here. Matt Piscatella from the NPD group. Thank you, Matt, for always putting this up together. I really appreciate it. I love stats. I love North American numbers. Just put up the data for July 2021. And it goes over a lot. I'm not going to go over everything. Otherwise, this would be quite a long video. And it's already going to be fairly long because I'm planning a decent amount of time with it already, breaking down the stats. But at Matt Piscatella over on Twitter, if you want to see the full breakdown, I recommend following him. He's cool. He's on Twitter, always talking sales talk and other talk related to the gaming world. So go ahead and give him a follow if you want to learn more of these stats from July. I'm going to go over some of the ones that are the biggest, most notable. PlayStation 5 ended up being the leader in terms of dollars made for the month of July. So that's how much did each console make overall from however many hundreds of thousands. PlayStation 5, obviously the SKUs are at $500 and $400, so it's selling really well, close to the number one hardware seller, which I'll get to in a second. It ended up making the most amount of money for the month. However, the Nintendo Switch was the number one best-selling console, and that means, well, exactly what it means. It sold more than any other system, so probably up here is where Nintendo Switch sold, and PlayStation 5 just enough under it that it made a little bit more, but not enough to sell more, If you remember last month for June, Xbox Series S and X combined actually was the number one profiter. Well, maybe not necessarily raw profits, but the number one in terms of money coming in. And this time they dropped to number 3. But the number one consistent seller is Nintendo Switch. This now makes it the 32nd consecutive month that Nintendo Switch has been the number one best-selling system in North America. And that is tremendous. We talk about this every month when the NPD numbers come out, but it was Xbox 360 a decade ago that reached 23 consecutive months. And that was a record that was not topped for close to 10 years. And think about it, Nintendo Switch is at 32. That's 9 months further ahead than the Xbox 360 record that lasted for a decade. Pretty safe to say that if Nintendo Switch goes a couple of more months, like if they manage to pull it off in September and October, well, first August and September, and then they get October, November, December, which is probably fairly likely because Nintendo explodes over the holidays and they have the OLED model. If they can make these 2 months, they'll probably get to these 3, and then they'll be at 37 consecutive months. That's a whole 14 ahead of Xbox 360. When will there be a system that breaks this record? I would say at least another decade, if that happens. Because you realize as the market gets more and more competitive, there will be a time where PlayStation 5 overtakes Nintendo Switch, maybe for a month or two. And maybe Switch goes on top for a month. And then Xbox Series X has a string of 3-4 months where it's number one. And then it's back to PlayStation 5. And then Switch. And then, we have somebody going for a stretch of 8. Another one drops. That takes one. The other one drops in price. That one goes up. And, that's usually how it works. And that's why you don't have this giant string, where it's many, many months or even a few years in a row where a console's number one, because also a new console ends up coming out, etc. So it will be interesting to see when this market leadership ends for Nintendo, and if they bump back in, you got to start the clock from the beginning. It won't be number 33 if PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, for instance, takes the month of August. If they do, the streak is done, like Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania from Brock Lesnar when he beat him. When Brock beat Undertaker, that is. The streak's done. Then you have to start it anew. So I'm kind of on a personal level hoping that, like, I want to see this number continue because I think it's fascinating. I know that it will be beat, but if it can make it 37 months, that would be pretty sweet. Even if it makes it to 36, that's a full 3 years. That's amazing. All right. Anyways, moving down on the list. The Legend of Skyward Sword was the #1 best-selling game of July 2021. It's the first Nintendo-published title to lead the monthly bestsellers chart since the launch of Super Mario 3D World in February. So March, April, May, June went by, and no Nintendo game was #1. That's not exactly a bad thing. They had plenty of other hits along the way, just none of them happened to be one for the month. Monster Hunter Stories 2 debuted at #3, which is also very impressive. Within its first couple of days, Monster Hunter Stories 2 more than tripled the lifetime sales of Monster Hunter Stories originally released on Nintendo 3DS back in 2017. I talked similar talk regarding those numbers out of North America, Japan, and Capcom Forecast a few weeks ago on Video Game News with PGN, but there we have it from Matt on NPD, more than tripling in North America in the first couple of days of what the old game did in its lifetime. That Nintendo Switch effect, I love it. Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War was the second best-selling game of July, remains the best-selling game of the whole 2021 year to date. And then we have MLB The Show surpassed Resident Evil Village to become the second best-selling game overall of 2021. If you go into the breakdown of the charts, you could look closer. I'll skim over a little bit of this. You see Zelda at #1, Call of Duty at 2, Monster Hunter Stories 2 at #3, Mario Kart 8 at 4, Minecraft overall at 5, Mario Golf Super Rush at 6, MLB The Show 2021 at 7, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales at 8, Call of Duty Modern Warfare at 9, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 10. Going down, you've got Ratchet & Clank, Animal Crossing, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, Super Mario 3D World, Mortal Kombat 11, Neo, The World Ends With You, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Resident Evil Village, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Quite a good, varied list where you have some third-party games. You have quite a few Nintendo games. So there's exclusive content on Switch in there. There's exclusive content on PlayStation there. You've got Ratchet & Clank showing up, Spider-Man showing up. You have some older titles showing up like Breath of the Wild at #17. The game's 4.5 years old and managed to top the #17 mark for July. Impressive. You're looking at year-to-date, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, as I mentioned earlier, is #1, with MLB The Show at 2, Resident Evil Village at 3, Super Mario 3D World at 4, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales at 5. And if we continue, we'll go a little farther. Monster Hunter Rise, Mario Kart 8, Minecraft, Assassin's Creed, and Animal Crossing. Keep in mind, Animal Crossing at #10 for being the 10th best-selling game year-to-date. It's pretty impressive since it came out March of 2020. And there really is more to look at. You can look at the top 10 best-selling games for the last 12-month period, which is different than year-to-date. Year-to-date is just through the end of July 31st, January 1st through July 31st. Last 12 months occupies, the last 12 months worth of data. And then you have individual breakdowns between Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox. We have some talk regarding best-selling accessory was the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD Edition Joy-Con. PlayStation 5 DualSense White controller remains the best-selling accessory year-to-date. And yeah, there's more. I ended up reading the majority of it. You can look at the console breakdowns themselves and read some other information, see a few of the other charts that Matt put up. But that's the gist of it, and it's pretty awesome to see. Whoever makes it to the #1 top list, kudos to them. You're probably doing something right. You probably deserve it, whether you're PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, or Nintendo Switch. But like I said, when a streak is going for so long, I kind of want to see it go a little bit longer because you know it's going to get broken, and you know for a very long time to come, nothing's going to touch it. And I like to see records being shattered and then solidifying themselves as this new dominant entity with nothing that could touch it for a long time to come. I think that's a powerhouse. Whatever it is, whether it's in movies, in wrestling, in the video game industry, when it comes to sales or what have you, it's just fun. So I'm rooting for Nintendo Switch personally to satisfy my number of, hitting 37. It's not even like 37 is my favorite number or anything like that. It's just, I see that it can go to 37 should it make August and September. I think it'll make October through December for those reasons I mentioned earlier. Pokemon, OLED model, Metroid. But August and September is anyone's month. If PlayStation 5 ramps it up enough, Microsoft ramps it up enough, they probably would overtake Nintendo during those two. But it's exciting. It's exciting. All right. And finally, if you are not tired enough yet of me talking video game sales, we've got one more thing to talk about. That is the Famitsu charts. Yes. Yesterday, I already went over the top 10 Famitsu sales charts for week 32 in Japan. That occupied August 2nd through August 8th. Thank you, Chris1964, for supplying it then on the ResetEra.com forums. I'm using this chart once again because sometimes I go into the top 30. Sometimes I'll do 10 and 30. Sometimes I'll just do 10. Sometimes I'll wait and just do a 30. But today I'm doing both because we have something of historical proportions here that hasn't happened since November of 1988. And that is when Famicom, the Japanese counterpart of the Nintendo Entertainment System, occupied all 30 slots in the Famitsu top 30. Nothing from any other system, and it hasn't been done since November 1988 till now. Amazing, right? 30 and a half years. Sorry, 1988, 32 and a half years. Talk about a record. You know what I'm saying when I'm talking about records? Like, that is awesome. And this probably won't happen again for a while, unless if it happens like next week because Nintendo Switch is on a roll. But once PlayStation gets its footing with 5 and some final hits come out from 4, it's not going to happen for a while after, Then again, with Sony not being that strong in Japan with the PlayStation, not putting that much effort into the territory, with Xbox always having a little bit of a challenge, and also Game Pass potentially taking away what would be the few sales that could crack a top 30 on the occasional high-profile Xbox game, maybe Nintendo Switch does recreate this top 30 for a couple more weeks. But eventually, like I said, it's far more likely than not that PlayStation 5, even without Sony's jump forward attitude in Japan, a PS5 game is going to pop up, maybe some PS4 game that's on sale or a part of a bundle or some type of upgrade program to go to the PS5, and if you buy the PS4 version it's cheaper, maybe Halo Infinite, it is going to happen. But we won't have a 32-year long streak. Gosh, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know when it'll happen again after this moment right here. Nintendo Switch. We showed you yesterday that it dominated the top 10. Here you see. That's where we ended. But if you look further, coming in at number 11, Super Mario 3D World. And then it just goes to Super Mario Party, Miitopia, Animal Crossing, Mario Golf, Clubhouse games, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Monster Hunter Rise, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, Splatoon 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 21, The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, Neo The World Ends With You. Keep in mind, that game came out just the previous week on Nintendo Switch And on PS4, only the Switch version lasted in the top 30. Both dropped dramatically, but only Switch version is here. The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 2, New Pokemon Snap, Taiko no Tatsujin, Fishing Sports, Human Fall Flat, Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, and Super Mario Maker 2. I didn't break down every game in terms of, what percent it went up or down, how many copies it sold, but if you're looking at these charts, a lot of these games are up. They went up from the previous week. So even though hardware is a little bit down, especially compared to last year, it's way down for this week. Nintendo Switch hardware still dominated, and Nintendo Switch software dominated like never before, at least not in 32 and a half years. So what a momentous occasion. Some people won't care. Why you care? Well, if you're a sports fan, I mean, chances are if you're watching this channel, you're a video gamer. But maybe you don't get the obsession when it comes to sales and stats and stuff. But maybe you are also a sports fan and you understand that world of, your favorite football dynasty, basketball dynasty, your team that associates, with you because of, the city, the college that you went to, etc. And you look at different trophies and stats from players and whatever. When you're into the video game industry as much as me, and you love stats and numbers as much as I do, well, the two have a happy marriage, and then this stuff becomes just something that's wonderful to check out, and it's mesmerizing. And if you happen to be a giant Nintendo fan, such as I am, and you see Nintendo succeeding so much, which happens to be my favorite company in the video game industry, it makes me extra proud to be a fan, to have followed them along for this journey, and to see so many other people enjoying what I enjoy. And it makes me happy. It makes me happy knowing that a lot of others out there are like-minded enough, at least when it comes to gaming, and that's pretty cool. Plus, I get to share my love of Nintendo with my kids, and of course, all of gaming, because I do play every console, and I enjoy it, and I do enjoy everything, but Nintendo's just a little extra spot in my heart. All right, that's going to do today. This got me pumped up. Pokemon news, NPD news with something big happening, and then Famitsu news. Super cool. Very fitting that it's 32 weeks. Also very fitting on the NPD side that it's 32 months consecutive for Switch, and that it's 32 years that this record has been around. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Maybe with 32, that'll give us a sign that Game Boy Advance, a 32-bit handheld system, is coming soon to Nintendo Switch. I like that. That's some good speculation talk right there. Let's will it into the world, shall we? Okay, this is PGN signing out. Take it easy. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one. Bye.